Okay, I forgot to record FRQ number 1, but there it is. The real quick, maybe I didn't forget. The real quick version is that it's asking you what part of, or the Bill of Rights used to only apply to states, now it applies to the federal. How that happened, talk about one of the cases below. Obviously, I think we wouldn't talk about Wolf because we don't know it. So get low, here's words you need to include in your answer for get low. You need to include that the 14th Amendment incorporated the First Amendment via the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause. Freedom of speech was incorporated via the 14th Amendment Due Process. And then Gideon, same thing. The 6th Amendment, right to a lawyer, was incorporated via the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. I'm done with the first one. You pause it. Check it out yourself later. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2, I like number 2. It says the First Amendment includes 2 clauses about religion. Let's talk about that now. Select one of the following cases. We got Ingle and Lemon. We barely know Lemon. We totally know Ingle really good. So you're going to talk about Ingle probably. Ingle is about school prayer. I don't think it says... Does the question say school prayer on your paper? Maybe it does, huh? That's pretty generous. So you already know what it's about. So all you got to do is say Ingle v. Vitale was decided using the Establishment Clause. I'm going to add a little more than this group wrote. Unless, does B say, describe the Supreme Court's decision in A? Okay. Okay, then I'm not going to write more because B is about writing more. It was decided as unconstitutional because making prayer in school, I'm going to say school-sponsored prayers in school is illegal because it feels like the government would be establishing a church if they're like endorsing praying. So I'm happy with Ingle, and then it says select one of the following and tell me what part of the amendment. We have Reynolds v. U.S. about polygamy, or Oregon v. Smith. I like both of these. I think you guys probably like both of these equally. Reynolds is about polygamy. Basically, both of these are about the free exercise clause, and this group did mention that both these cases are about the free exercise clause because it's about worship. It's about how you worship. And then Reynolds is about polygamy, and you can't do something that's illegal and claim that you're worshiping, you're exercising your religion. That's not allowed. Oregon is the same thing. It was about drug use, and they claimed it was free exercise clause. That's not okay. I'm going to tell you right now, my vibe from this question is one of the ones I like. I like this question. The only thing I don't like is lemon, but you don't even have to pick it. You could pick something else. There's an E. Many of these decisions have caused controversy. Describe 2 ways in which other political institutions might limit the impact of these decisions. We could have a constitutional amendment because the constitutional amendments cannot be violated. Yeah, that's true. Congressional laws. They could pass a law. Sounds good. And then we have a link to the College Board answer if you need it. Well done, question 2, people. I'm going to pause the video. I've unpaused the video. That means I'm ready to talk about number 3.
What?
Yeah. You have it in your backpack.
Yeah, I forgot I had it.
I'll tell you right now, I'm not super crazy about question 3. Because it's so vague. To what extent has the federal government been successful in attempting since 1950s to combat discrimination against African American... Look how old the question is, they say black people. That feels outdated, I don't know. In your answer, describe both of the following. Specific legislative and judicial actions. So, yes. This group said Civil Rights Act of 1964. That would be in my answer as well. This group said Brown v. Board. That would be in my answer as well. And then it says social and political factors that have hindered the group's attempts to change. Yeah, I especially don't like part B of this question that much. But anyway, their part B is acceptable. But I'm giving you some heavy hints that I could see Frankensteining this because I like A. I really don't like B. It's too vague. Either way, they're both really vague and could have 100 possible correct answers. Oops. I'm going to pause the video while you guys catch up in person. That's smart. Yeah, you can go to File and
You sign in, make a file.
Make a copy. That works too. Although anything I change, you're not going to get. Yes, you could. Number 4. I'm trying to figure out what I'm looking at here. Are these answers here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Political institutions can present both obstacles and opportunities to racial minority groups in their efforts to gain political influence. Identify one feature of the following and explain how that feature has presented obstacles. And then it tells you federalism and it tells you the party system. That's fine. It says identify one feature of one of the following. I'd probably talk about federalism and how it's about race, right? Is it about voting or is it about race? So a lot of your stuff though is about voting, which is good.
It gave federalism, both the party system and the electoral system.
Oh, there's another one?
So you pick one out of the two.
Okay.
Or three.
Anyway, I think, yeah, the general idea here before we look at specific answers is the federalism means that, like, states could be racist and the federal government would try to combat that and it'd be kind of hard, you know, because all different states practice different stuff. Alabama did voter suppression, California was not, so we can focus on voting. State control over voter registration and elections hindered civil rights advancement because of federalism. We let states run their elections, but what if those states are racist? What if those states are trying to keep people from voting? And then political parties, let's see. Less opportunity. Yeah, I'm not crazy. I'm already like not feeling this question too much. It's kind of like odd. Sad face. Just it's not like clear enough what they want. Identify one feature of the following blah 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 and how it might present opportunities. So why is it a good thing? So it's the opposite of what was just asked.
Same thing, so we left out the party system.
Okay. I see. So you just have to pick one of these. Federalism. The idea, you guys went with like someone could file a lawsuit and it could get to the Supreme Court. That's fine. Yeah, this question sucks. Hope we don't get this question on our AP Gov test. It's messy. It's very vague.
You gotta like jump around.
It's kind of weird. But there it is. Let's keep going. So, sad face for that one, but still outline it if you're watching at home. Number 5. Looks like I'm gonna like this one. I see cases I like. Identify what provision of the 14th Amendment was going to be applied in these Supreme Court cases. Also, for the case you select, explain the significance. So, Brown v. Board, that's going to be the 14th Amendment, equal protection. Okay, and they're going to strike down the idea of separate but equal. So, do we just have to pick one of these cases?
Yeah, no, I think it's all 3. Is it?
It just says one.
Yeah, so
but we like them all.
Yeah, on the key it said that everyone should have equal protection.
Okay, so every single one of these, and that probably the next one's going to be every single one should have due process.
Okay.
That's why this is really, really similar to number 8, which I outlined at the bottom. So in a way, as we do 5, you're pretty much doing 8. So every single one of these cases is equal protection, but you need to know what the case is about. I just made a whole video talking about court cases, but Brown v. Board, separate but equal, struck down. Baker v. Carr, one man, one vote. You can't have malapportionment. And this is affirmative action had gone too far with the UC versus Bake. And then all these cases are about due process rights. 14th Amendment due process. Mapp v. Ohio, Gideon v. Wainwright, Miranda v. Arizona. Mapp is about illegal evidence. 14th Amendment due process. You gotta say 14th Amendment due process or you don't get the points. That's kind of what they're testing you on. Plus, tell me what the case is about. So Mapp v. Ohio, bad evidence can't be used. Gideon v. Wainwright, I deserve a lawyer, especially if I'm poor. And Miranda v. Arizona, I have the right to remain silent. All of these are due process.
Oh yeah, for the Miranda one, it says that all police must read Miranda rights is not valid. You can't use that.
Oh, really?
You have to explain it.
It's too obvious. Okay. So I just want to peek at number 8 and see the similarities. Is it literally the same question? No, it's a little different, right? Like, you didn't have this.
It's more in depth. A is more like into.
Oh, I have women and I have persons with disabilities. When you guys get down here, people at home, this is fine too. You don't have to outline this. Is that it? Yeah, because we already did like that exactly above. So 8 and 5 are very similar. I would never pick both of them for a test. Hint, hint. But it's really likely I would pick one of them, if you get what I mean. Based on the odds. Should I keep going? We have 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna finish, but... this says, explain how 2 measures taken by some states in the 60s or before hurt voter turnout. This one sounds like a pretty easy question. Literacy tests, poll taxes, grandfather clauses. Those are 3 possible answers. Was grandfather clause on the key? Okay. Literacy test said it was like white people made this crazy hard test, and I guess the grandfather clause is part of literacy. If your grandfather voted, you didn't have to take the test. But no black person's grandfather had ever voted, so that was so clearly meant. It's so bad. They're not even trying to hide. Not even trying to hide the racism. And poll taxes is asking people to pay money to vote. But again, I think you could get out of it if you were grandfather clause. I'm not sure. So maybe let's take grandfather clause away because it more like it relates to the others. Facing discrimination at the voting booth, many African American citizens turn to alternative forms of participation. Describe 2 forms of participation. Demonstrations and protests, and how it brought about changes. It raised awareness for issues, brought people together, good. Boycotts, not going to businesses that discriminated against them. I like it. Question C, choose one of the forms of participation from B and explain why it was effective. Yeah, I don't like how B and C are redundant. So I might have to. Frankenstein. I don't know what Frankenstein's well was 6 though. There is a chart that did not copy over to Google Docs. It's on your hard copy paper though. It says using the chart above, compare minority representation from the 60s to now. And you're going to say, minority representation has grown a lot. Ooh, that's true. Explain how each of the following have assisted removing barriers to voting. Voting Rights Act. Suspended literacy tests, and it made African Americans vote way more. And it allowed the federal government to register African Americans to vote, or people in racist communities. They got to be registered by the federal government instead of the states. 24th Amendment got rid of poll taxes. Identify one barrier that gets in the way of minority representation in Congress. Is that an answer on the key? Because it seems odd. A barrier that gets in the way is that people in Congress are very white, middle-aged males. Like, that's true, but is that an answer? I don't know. Do we have a link here? No link? This one, I'm gonna say, not sure. Could be right. Identify one barrier that gets in the way of minority representation in Congress. Explain why the barrier you identified inhibits minority. Could be single member district system, but I don't have the key in front of me. And then we look at number 8. It's super similar to 5, at least part E is. And it says, describe the difference between civil rights and civil liberties. Remember one of those notes we had that started with this concept? Civil rights protect groups from discrimination. Civil liberties protect individuals from the government actions. Letter B. Identify the clause of the 14th Amendment that extended civil rights. And it's the Equal Protection Clause, like Brown v. Board. And I think I talked about that in my answer. And then this is a brand new question out of nowhere that I kind of like. Tell me how they extended civil rights to women and people with disabilities. Women, and then here's all the answers I wrote. You just need one for women and one for people with disabilities. Women, you can talk about 19th Amendment. You can talk about Title IX. You can talk about Equal Pay Act, even if you think it failed. You can still talk about it. Disabled people, you can talk about the one where they had to fix all the old buildings, Americans with Disabilities Act. And then you can also talk about Individual Disabilities Education Act that said disabled people could get educated in public school. Then it asks you what part of the 14th Amendment extended civil liberties, and you're going to say due process. And then we have exactly the same thing we had above. So, peace.